And that's Becky. And I'm the director of Gardeners and Community Development, and she's an education staff person that works with us. And this project is going to be at 3 different gardens here in East Dallas. These are all gardens that were started a couple of decades ago. The garden you're in is about 23 years old, and these gardens were started to benefit families who are coming here as refugees. So the gardeners in this particular garden have been Laotians and Cambodians for most of the years. Recently, we've added Burmese families and a few families from Bhutan, a family from the Congo. So as refugees families come in and need spaces to garden, this garden is a place that they can find space. This is a very different garden than most community gardens. Most community gardens about families growing food for themselves, for their community, maybe growing food to donate to the food pantry to help them or something. This garden is a market garden. So the people who garden here are growing food for their families, but they're also growing extra food that they can sell to the public. And the public for them is mostly members of their own community. So we have Cambodian gardeners running a little market up front, selling vegetables mostly on Saturdays, but any day really. And this has helped sustain this Asian community population now for many years. So it pays the cost of the water, and it pays for their fertilizer and their tools. They don't really make any money, but it makes it so that they can give back to the community and help people out in their community. They grow unique vegetables here. Everybody that gardens actually grows vegetables that are important to them. So if I were gardening, I might grow, zucchini and yellow squash and cucumbers and beans, corn, things like that. When these guys are gardening, they're growing what's special to them. They're growing Malabar spinach, water spinach, bitter melon, lots of things that are very different than what you might be familiar with. And so each garden group does that. Hispanics grow their crops, and people from wherever. If they were Russian immigrants, they would grow stuff that's important to them. And so you're going to learn a lot in the 2 or 3, 4 weeks you're going to be out here. How many weeks? Wow.
7.
7. Oh, that's a long time.
6 really.
But six really, maybe 5 here. 5. You'll learn a lot about what Asians grow, right? And how they grow it and whatnot. And then the last week we're going to go to see Becky's garden, and Becky's garden is Hispanics, African Americans, other folks, and what?
Jamaicans,
Filipinos. But you'll see a whole nother range of crops being grown and a whole different way about going about gardening. Since you're all here because you're trying to learn about water conservation, I might say something about that.
Thank you.
The main water conservation thing that's in place in this garden is what I'm standing on. It's the wood chip mulch on the ground. Right? That makes it a passive system for collecting rainwater. Makes it so that when it rains, water does not leave this property. Like most places, when it rains heavy, the water goes gushing off and washing soil away and everything. This means that the water goes into the ground and soaks into the ground. And so it's a mulch layer that acts as a sponge to absorb water and slowly release it into the ground. Other gardens use other methods, but that's about the only method we've been able to sort of fit into the gardening style of the Asian community. So they like to hand water. You see all these spots. It looks like it's very wet. It really isn't. They don't use that much water because they have sunken gardens that are down in the ground. That conserves water. Instead of having a big high raised bed where the water drains out, you have this bed that's like actually down in the ground. So that conserves water. We save water here by having a lawn and not watering it, which is the way an awful lot of people who have homes save water. In fact, the people who probably should get the gold star for saving water are all those people who don't have big lawns that they water. Because we know that the people that have the big lawns waste more water than anybody, or use more water. I don't think they think they're wasting it. But that's the number one use of water outside of industry and some things like that in Dallas is lawns and automatic sprinkler systems, which tend to waste water. So by having a grassy area that we just mow and not wasting water there, that's a way. And by growing plants that are well adapted, to this environment, even though most of these plants came from Asia or to the tropics somewhere, they are well adapted to our summer climate here and do very well on a surprisingly small amount of water. Maybe we can drag out the water bills and show you someday. The way the garden is designed and laid out makes it so it uses less water than most gardens. In most people's yards and gardens, they water everything. They usually put sprinklers out and they water the whole, from one fence to the next fence, all the way across the yard. Water all the beds, all the lawn, everything. Here, the only part that's being watered is these little squares where they're actually growing vegetables. So less than half of the area here, by far, maybe only about a third of it actually gets watered. So that saves water over, generally, because in a conventional garden, when people use sprinklers or they just put the hose out and let the water run out over a big area to water their vegetable garden, they're wasting water. But here it goes into selected spots only where the plants are growing. So, but we'll see a lot of different techniques. We'll be able to show you drip irrigation systems when we go to Becky's garden, which is a great way to save water. Rainwater catchment systems. We don't have a big roof here. Couldn't catch enough water off of this roof to do much. But it'd be nice to catch it anyway. But it doesn't go to waste because it runs off the roof and it goes into the ground and feeds the plants that way. So we are going to take a quick tour, maybe not so quick. You've kind of seen this garden already. This we call the East Dallas Community Garden.
Yeah.
We're going to go next to Live Oak Community Garden. Okay. While I've got your attention, I'd like to pass these out to a few of you. All of you, maybe. I don't have enough, maybe.